I'm an addict named Lene. Really grateful to be here on Thursday night, so there's not a whole bunch of people. I am just gonna start out by sharing some of my story. I kind of laughed as Zach was introducing me. He said they at one point as he was introducing me, and he's referring to me and my husband. And me and Zach, I've known Zach since I first walked through the doors, and we've spent a lot of time together. I don't know, he's one of the people who always made me feel comfortable, one of the men in the fellowship who always made me feel comfortable with just hanging out, and it's a platonic relationship. I never had any of those before I came to recovery. And I think that I laughed a little bit just because I think when I first came in, it was just Lene and Mike. It was never just Lene or just Mike. I don't know if I've ever hung out with Zach without Mike. I don't think I have, but but maybe we have, maybe we have a few times in the past few years. But my point is that I've really been able to grow into my own person in the past few years, and I do things without my husband these days, so I'm proud of myself for that. So am I relapsing? I didn't know that was like the title until I got here and got the program. Somebody just said it's, red flags to relapse or something, but then I saw the question, am I relapsing? And I was like thinking about that really hard. And what I came to was like, you're the only person that can know. And that's my story. I started writing down I started writing about my relapses. I have 5 years clean. My clean date is November 11th, 2012. And me and my husband came into recovery together, and he has not relapsed since we came in. And that was something that was really hard for me to get through, just the shame of it. And he has 9 years clean now. So it's like I did not want to go to meetings after I relapsed with him. And I did not want to face that. And I felt for a long time, I felt like I was never going to feel like I was, I don't know, as good as him or something. And I had done this awful thing to myself by splitting up, because we had the same clean date and I ruined it. So I felt really horrible, and he was really mad that I ruined the whole matching clean date thing. But we've gotten through it pretty good, I think. Enough time has passed that now I don't even think about it. And I don't know, there's as I look back, I almost feel like maybe it was my own way of finding autonomy, and saying we're not the same person, and I don't want to get a key tag on the same day that you get a key tag. I want to get my own key tag on my own day, And that's really childish, but I don't know. It's just the way my mind works, and I wish that, I don't know. I don't wish any of it was different. I was about to say that, but that's not true. I'm really grateful for the journey that I've had so far. My first relapse was when I had 22 months clean the first time. And let's see what happened. Okay, so me and my husband were connected at the hip. I went to treatment. He didn't go to treatment. We just came in together. We did everything together. We went to meetings together. Our lives revolved around NA. We did everything NA. We didn't do anything that wasn't NA, and it worked for us. We surrounded ourselves with people who were in recovery and had a lot of clean time. that was just advice that was given to us, don't hang out with people who are in the same boat as you. Like, meet some different people, get a sponsor that has more than 5 years clean, and hang out with your sponsor after meetings. And like, we just did everything, and we built this whole community around ourselves, and it was really, really amazing, and it still is today. But I didn't work. I never had a job. I never had a job ever for more than like a month. And Mike took care of me, and that's something that's changed today. I finally am able to contribute an equal amount to our family, and that's something that I'm really proud of. I never really believed that I even wanted to do that, and it didn't even cross my mind. I was just I just wanted to figure out how I could never work. That's what I want to do. That's what my mind, because I'm so uncomfortable in social situations, and I'm really, really uncomfortable learning new things in front of people. And it seemed like anytime I tried to get a job, I had to learn, a new skill around strangers. And it just it was terrifying, and it paralyzed me. And I was not interested in that at all. I didn't want anything to do with it. But today I work at a yoga studio, and it's a happy place, and I don't have to be anybody that I'm not. And I've had to learn a few new things, but I just pretty much have to be myself. And I also have a cleaning business, and am working for myself, and I don't have to learn anything new around anybody. And I like it. Who knows what the future will hold, but so when I had those 22 months clean, Mike was working, and he was working, he got a new job. He had job after job. He got every job he interviewed for, I think in his entire life. He was just a perfect employee. But he got a job working midnights. And this changed a lot for me. And it was really hard on me. I felt like I was like a baby. I was like, this isn't what I signed up for. And if you're going to be gone all night, every night, I don't know if this is going to work out. I was pretty much ready to leave him, and I was going crazy. I know everyone can probably identify with this in some way or another. When it just feels like your whole body is revolting against something that's happening, and there was no way I could see the positive side of anything, no matter what I did, no matter how I tried to look at it, no matter who I talked to. I just was in complete rebellion of this. And he did it for a while, and I just hated it. And I guess I did have a job, now that I think about it. I did have a job doing some caretaking at a assisted living facility. At that time, I was trying some new things, but I got off work at 10 p.m., and he went to work at 9, and there was this window. I don't know. I started thinking as I was driving home a lot, and I was going home to no one. And I was just so pissed off about that. And I just let it get to me. I started thinking I could use, and he wouldn't even be home until, 7 o'clock in the morning, and he would never know, and nobody would ever know. And I let that thought go in my mind. I was always taught in early recovery that if you have a using thought, or if you have a desire to use, you should go to a meeting and you should share about it. And I always did that. I did it a lot. I've always gone to meetings and just shared whatever I was thinking or feeling, and if I thought it was affecting my recovery. But I kept that one to myself, and eventually, driving home from work at 10 o'clock one night, I just decided to stop at the store, and I swear, the lady at the Walgreens counter must have thought I was a lunatic, because I didn't really want to use, but I was at that point in my recovery where I believed I had the thought and I had to do it, or else my recovery was going to be ruined anyways. I just made myself believe that. I convinced myself of that, and I went through with it, like trembling and shaking as I was at the Walgreens counter, like buying my 6-pack of beer. Like, I'm gonna use tonight. That's what I was gonna do. And I took my 6-pack of beer and I drove home to the trailer park, and I was like, well, now what am I gonna do? I lived with another recovering addict who had a lot of clean time. I was like, I can't drink inside of his house. Like, that would be so disrespectful. And so I had to come up with this plan. And then I didn't get out of the car. And then I was like, I don't want to drive somewhere because then I'll have to drive and I'll be drunk. Like, none of this makes any sense. Why didn't I at any point say this is a bad idea? But I ended up parking the car and walking out to the field and drinking a 6-pack of beer by myself, and then walking home and going to sleep. And I don't even know, it's just the disease. And it was just me, like, self-sabotaging over nothing, over some feelings that I couldn't get through. There were some feelings that I couldn't get through. I stopped talking to my sponsor about 3 weeks prior to that. I had my friends in recovery, and I did a lot of things with friends and stuff, but I was just like slowly letting go of each individual thing that kept me safe, instead of continuing to call my sponsor and say, whatever my craziness was about my husband working midnights. I just stopped talking about it because I probably felt as crazy as I was, It really wasn't that big of a deal, but all it takes is just letting those thoughts sit inside for too long and being alone with them. And then, for me, before I know it, I don't know what the truth is anymore. I can't tell what reality is and what is just my craziness in my head. And so I didn't get honest. I didn't use again, but I didn't tell anybody. I thought I can just keep it to myself, and it wasn't that big of a deal. And that's when I learned about what a lie can do. I don't have a really big story about getting high and almost dying in a relapse or anything like that. I just kept going to meetings anyways. And I just felt stupid, and I don't know, I just felt like I don't know why I did it. And I just sat in meetings and I thought about that over and over and over again. How could I do this? I ruined my life. I ruined our special, matching clean dates. I ruined everything. And that's how I felt. And that's the disease. I still do this today. I will act out in a negative way so I can prove to myself that I'm no good. And then I can keep that to myself, and I can just sit in my sickness and just try to hide it. And that's all I'm doing, is I'm just trying to hide it. I'm trying to hide it. And she just told me I have 5 minutes, so I still have a whole nother relapse to get through. But so that's what happened with that one. The next one is different. I had about 20 months clean again, and I never made it to the black key tag in those first few years, and that was just my own little self-sabotage, I had a really hard time letting go of control. I had a really hard time getting through that third step, and the next relapse, I was still working at that assisted living facility, and I was working very part-time, 2 days a week, and nothing was going on. I had my daughter. I don't remember how old she was. She was still young. She was probably like a little, maybe a year old or something. And I was passing narcotics when I was doing that job, and I was fine. I felt like I was working a program. I felt like I was doing everything I was supposed to do. But, you know, once again, that voice would creep in and say, like, you could take that and nobody would know. You could take that pill and nobody would know. And I would ignore it, and then I would share it at a meeting, but then it would come back, and I would share it in a meeting again, and then one day, like, the grand opportunity presented itself, where we had like a busy night, and it was all chaotic and crazy at the assisted living facility, and you're supposed to have 2 people to sign the narcotic off, and then you're supposed to walk to the room to pass it to the person. And we had to, I'm not going to get descriptive, but we had to crush the pill and put it in applesauce, and we had to sign. So we signed, and we crushed the pill, and we put in the applesauce, and then she got a call on her radio, and she was like, okay, I gotta go. So I just ate the applesauce, and that was the end of it. Like, then I was at work high, and that was fucked up. I don't think you're supposed to swear, but that was really messed up. And like that, you know, that just brings me back to where I started. Like, one of my relapses, like, was just all about my feelings and all about, like, me feeling like I couldn't get through a situation. And the other one was just like, it just was in front of me and in my hand, and I had no accountability. And that was that, you know. I have a good, solid network of people. I feel like I have a good program, you know. But that's the other thing, is like, nobody can tell you if you're about to relapse. Like Zach said, you know, maybe other people can tell before it happens, but I put on a good show. I really can put on a good show. Maybe nobody will ever know what's wrong if something's going on with me, you know, and all of a sudden I'm gone. Or, you know, and like, I was thinking about that too. Like, over this past year, there's been times when I really wanted to get high. I really wanted to use. I went through a very serious traumatic experience with my sister. She almost died, and I have a lot of family issues, so it was like compounded. And I really wanted to use. I wanted to leave my family behind and just be free. But the thing about that is that I was going to meetings every day, and I was sharing about it, and I was writing about it. I was talking to my sponsor about it. Like, the big thing, one of the biggest things that's happened in my recovery, like, was I going to relapse? No, because I was working my butt off, you know. I was doing everything I could to stay clean and to, like, just feel okay. I just wanted to feel okay. And I just kept telling myself, like, what I learned through the last 5 years of my recovery is that no matter what is going on in my life, no matter how I feel, it's going to change. So I just held on to that. Like, I felt so horrible. I felt like I was just worthless and that I wanted to die at points. But I just knew it was going to go away on its own. Like, that's just like the natural way of the world. Like, one day you feel really happy, and then the next day you might feel nothing. And then the next day you might feel really sad. Like, it always changes no matter what. So for me today, there's no reason, just for today, that I can convince myself to use, because I know my feelings will pass and every situation will pass. And that's been a hard thing for me to grasp, because that means everything's temporary. And that's a whole nother level of acceptance, something that I don't really want to accept. Like, then I have to accept that, like, I'm going to die, and my husband's going to die, and my kids are probably going to die, you know, and my mom is going to die. You know, all these things are going to happen. You know, my friends that I have are not going to be around for the rest of my life. Like, that's something that I've had to learn in recovery too. Like, I've had really close friendships that just are gone now. And it's all right. It sucks and it hurts, but you never know what's around the corner. You just don't. And I find that exciting today. I'm truly happy to be alive and clean. So that's all I got.
So is somebody to introduce our second speaker?
Assuming I'm an addict. So I get to introduce Ron, and so I guess there's three things I'd like to say. One is he's the best man I know. And the second thing is that I was thinking about, so what makes him the best man I know is the definition of what a man is. And I was thinking of like a man, I was taught that a man is bulletproof, rigid, distant, withdrawn, macho. And to me, I know that that's not true, that I learned that from people who didn't know what they were talking about. And so I got to make up my own definition of what a man is. And to me, a man is someone who's vulnerable, present, and someone who loves God. And so that's the first, so best man I know. And then the third thing I was thinking is, we talk about everything. We've been together 18 years, and we were talking about this topic, and we were talking about how that, on my way to relapsing, that relapsing has nothing to do with drugs. And that in our home, we talk about relapsing all the time, but just on behavior. And one of the things that makes this my favorite relationship, one of my favorite relationships I've ever had in my life, is that, is the vulnerability, is the risk, is the spilling my guts to him, and he spills his guts to me. So I will share with him my downfall, the places, my soft spots, my Achilles heel, where I use, and he'll share what he uses, but I use small and I use scared to make myself use procrastination and insecurity. So I cause it to use it. And so these are the kind of conversations that we have in our house. And so you're in for a treat, because you won't hear about, drugs a lot, because we don't use drugs, but we use other things that cause the same awful feeling. And help me introduce my favorite man, Ron.
Hi, I'm Ron. I'm an addict. For me, even when I used, using's never been my problem. Using was always, I used drugs to quell the thirst of not wanting to feel, not wanting to think. So the problem with those two is I have to kind of like set it up on what that means now, because I came here and for 25 years I did what I was told to do in Narcotics Anonymous, but I still felt like Pigpen after those 25 years, like there was still dirt around me, and I couldn't figure it out. So I kept looking for myself, and I didn't realize that how can I look for something I already am, but I just kept looking, and I kept looking and searching, but it forced me to go down a lot of different avenues and debunk a lot of the myths that I hear around here and cliches that we use, and for me to grow up and find out because really I don't want to be a part of Narcotics Anonymous. I want to have Narcotics Anonymous a part of my life, but if I just agree with everything here, it's no different than me being in a religion or being in anything. If I just come into something and settle into it, the problem with it is I end up doing what you want me to do, and I never end up picking what I want in my life. So, but there was no way. The reason why those 25 years, they helped me get to the point to where I was miserable enough to finally surrender. And to me, surrender means if you put a white flag up and you're in the middle of the field and you're in a war, Surrender doesn't mean, and this is what I would do, I would surrender, but I would still be marching forward. Well, if you're in a war, you're going to get shot if you keep marching forward. If you're surrendering, you have to stop. So for me, if I don't pray and meditate, I can't get this program, because the only time this program takes place is in the moment. The only time I have any higher power is in the moment. I can't walk around here and say I'm an atheist. I mean, if I want to, that's fine. If I want to argue about something that really doesn't matter here, we're not talking about dogma. We're talking about me living the greatest life I can live. So the only way I can be great is if I'm in the moment, because there is only a moment. So clean time doesn't mean shit here. And the reason why I'm saying that is my clean time, I got clean in 10/26 of 87. So people would think that because I've got 30 plus years that I know something because I'm clean. And that's a lie. That's another myth around here. There's a lot of people that are very sick that are clean. I was one of them, so I can say that. And I don't mean sick. I'm saying they're sick because they're just following something instead of following who they're supposed to be. They're following what NA is supposed to be, and that's not what we're supposed to be. We're supposed to be individuals. This is your recovery. This is my recovery. So I have to know, and this is one thing I never looked at my whole life, how I think. And the only way I can explain that is when you're laying down in bed tonight and you're having a conversation in your head, I got to take care of the kids, I don't have enough money, people don't like me, people do like me, my job sucks, I love my job. When you're playing that game going back and forth, we're the only being that can watch the conversation go back and forth. So are you the conversation, or are you the watcher of that conversation? So really, spirituality or being spiritually fit for me is consciousness. And consciousness is being able to be conscious of my thinking. That's one step. So the thinking that's going in my head that we all think is the voice and all that crazy shit, that is there, but somebody instilled that in me. So this is why I couldn't change it. I kept trying to change what I was taught, what I was brought up to be, what I agreed to when I was a child. I kept trying to change that. That's not me. None of the stuff that I brought into here was me. It was all agreements that I made when I was too vulnerable for me to make my own choices. From 0 to 3, you just agree with whatever's in front of you because you're hungry, you just pooped your diaper, whatever you did, you just agree to it because these are your parents. If they're arguing, you think arguing is okay, but you can't talk, you can't do anything with it, so you agree to it. Then as you start getting older, you start listening to what your parents say, you're getting some cognitive skills, and then you start hearing like what they think of politically, about jobs, about people, about races. So now you got all these opinions about all this other stuff. Well, I didn't know when I went out into life, everything that I had nothing to do with me. It was something that my parents gave me, that was given to them by their parents, that was given to them by their parents. So I was trying to unravel all that stuff thinking it was me, and none of it was ever me. So that's why after 25 years, I was just like, how can I not quell this? How can I not stop this? Why am I still thinking incessantly? Why am I still thinking I'm not worthy? Because I was trying to fix I can't change something that's not mine. I can't change something in the past. And when I was talking about clean time not meaning anything, the 30 years that I had before I walked up here is in the past. I can't bring it into the moment. If I do, it's a lie because it's not being done in the moment. I'm not feeling it in my heart. I'm not feeling it in my gut. I'm using my head. Whenever I use my head to make choices, they're off and they're going to be wrong because that's not where life happens for me. For other people, everybody's got their own process how they want to do this. But the only way that I find freedom is when I stop living in my head. And the only way to stop living in my head is to live in the moment. And the only way to live in the moment is to start having real feelings, not pissed off, angry, just those things that we use, we recycle, and we hear people say stuff, or, like Sumi was mentioning about feeling small or feeling less than. I've lived my whole life that way. So when we were talking about relapsing, I'm sitting there relapsing while I'm sitting there. To me, relapsing is thinking that you have something to do with my life, thinking that you are my problem, thinking that something outside of myself is making me feel. That's when I relapse now, because I haven't picked up since the day I got here, but I relapse constantly because I always think that something outside of myself is better than what's inside of me. Why would I do that? Who would want to live with a person like that? But that's what I do every day. So now for me not to relapse, I have to choose myself. I have to know that I'm worthy. The only way to do that is that in the moment while I'm sitting here, I've got to just tell myself, I'm worthy of this. I've done the work that I need to do. This doesn't, if you're newer around here, don't listen to that shit about you'll never get rid of your character defects. They're just here to guide us. Have you guys ever watched, what's that one movie where they're dragging the guy through the Weekend at Bernie's? All right, so here's my character defect. Weekend at Bernie's, they got him in the boat. He falls out of the boat and he's hitting the buoys. It's the funniest freaking thing I've ever seen. So he's hitting these buoys and these guys are wondering where he's at. And he's floating behind the boat and they're dragging him, right? That's what my character defects are. It warns me. Bam, bam. I hit the buoys and then buoys. And every time I hit something, it wakes me up. If I want to choose to look at it, it's okay. If I don't, it's okay too. It doesn't mean I'm less than or not good enough. Or defects of character mean I have character. I just am picking something outside myself to try to fix that. I don't need to do that. And it's taken me a long time to realize that. I think it's only been like the last 2 years. I started picking things that I like I want to do, what makes me happy. Friends, family. There's a lot of things I haven't done with family or friends. Or my son almost died about a month ago. So I'm in the emergency room. We were in ICU for about 15 days. He's on all sorts of these machines. They're pulling blood out of his neck and putting oxygen in it so he can't breathe, and that's how he's breathing. And basically they pulled me and Sumi out, and we're in this one room, and the guy says if we leave him the way he is, he's got a 90% chance he's going to die. What do you do with information like that? So the first thing I said is, so we don't have two dead people here, let me call his mom and let her get here before I sign a waiver. Because we had to sign a waiver. She ended up doing it, that once they put him on this machine, it's their responsibility if they want to take him off. We had no choice after that. But what happened in that ICU room is I made a decision to be there. And how I was there was if he lives or if he dies has got nothing to do with me. So I'm not bringing any negativity in here. I'm not bringing my stories. I'm not bringing my fear. I'm not bringing what I watched everybody else bring into the room. He's trying to heal. And you got all these people, and I could hear all the language people were using is exactly how he acts. So they're reinforcing how he acts while he's laying in the bed. You don't think a human being, we feel energy. I mean, when you look at me cross-eyed, I feel that energy. When I do it to you, you feel that energy. He's laying in a bed dying. He feels that. So I had to be there just to be there. I'd sit there, I'd be quiet, I'd meditate. I brought healing into that room. Luckily, it worked, but it had nothing to do with me. If he was going to pass, he was going to pass. A couple weeks after that, and this is what really changed my whole view of a higher power. Sumi's great friend of hers, she ended up passing over just an unfortunate situation, right? And here's where it brought the thinking out of the way. So I think that if I do all the right things, I meditate, I look for spiritual avenues, I treat people right, I live a good life, I'm maybe stacking up chips over here. So if something goes bad, like my son didn't die, or like I might have had something to do with that when because I was meditating, or her friend dies, and this lady helps more people than I could ever think of or help. And these people are free now, and then she comes down with something and passes. So that told me right there, the only time there is a higher power, or whatever you want to call it, I'm not going to use certain words because certain people don't like that, but because this is an inclusive program, but that taught me right there that this has got nothing to do with anything but the moment. She could have helped so many more people, and that was it for her. So it's the same thing with me. There is no, if I do the right thing here, I'm going to, it's going to extend my life, or I'm going to get a pass, or relapse for me is if don't doubt yourself. I am exclusively designed to wake up the way I am, and so are you. Do not try to be somebody else while you're here, and that's what I've done my whole life. I've always wanted to be you, or the person with the money, or multiple women, or nice cars, or anything that has got nothing to do with reality. Even when I feel good in the moment, I still feel like I don't have enough. And so I rob myself day after day. To me, that's relapsing, is being given a gift and then kind of like just laughing at it, because I only have each second. I could walk out of here, fall over in the hallway, and it's over with. Why would I not think my life is not worth it? And I can do that. I can wake up all day long and think my life is not worth it. So, picking up drugs, that was just something I did to hide, And it's the same thing. If you think the withdrawal of stopping using drugs is bad, wait till you get to the withdrawal of not living the stories that you were taught your whole life by your family or by society. Or once you start going through rehab with your thinking, to where you can get in the moment, detoxing from your somebody else's opinions of you, their beliefs of you. It is so difficult to stand back and just let life happen and not take it personal, not believe in it. Like even everything I was taught about family structure, work, politics, religion, love, all those things have been challenged, and all of them are off. That's the way it is out there. That's the way they're teaching it out there. None of it really means anything. It's just all a show, and my life is not like any of those things anymore. It's not a show. I don't care what people, I don't want to say I don't care what they think of me, because I was sitting there relapsing, thinking about what people are going to think when I share, But that's I'm judging my higher power when I'm doing that. When I think I am less than or not good enough in any situation, or somebody superior or inferior to me in any situation, that is a relapse in thinking, because none of that is true, and it's never been true, what this program is taught me and what it has given me is what I've always wanted. I've always just wanted to wake up and feel okay. I never, I live a fairly decent life. I have everything I want. When it comes to feeling like I can leave the house and be a productive member of society, and or just not be. Just sit at home and do whatever I want and not feel like I'm missing something, because I do that a lot too. So I think for me, the biggest thing here is I had to find my own recovery. I don't believe a lot of stuff that goes on here. I think I know for me that I brought my sick mind here, and until I found out where my sick mind came from, I was trying to fix my sick mind with my sick mind. So, if I can give you anything, which I can't, because that's your journey, find out what your stories are. Find out what you were taught. Find out what you believe in. Because none of it is who you are. It's all this shit that I was given. And once I start looking at that, then I can kind of take that back and start connecting feelings to it, seeing if they're true in the moment. Because a lot of times I'll be having feelings in the moment that have nothing to do with that moment. Something will break off, and I will be 20, 30 years back here because of something that's happening right now. Now, how in the hell can that happen? How can I bring my past into the present? I can't. So I'm going to mess up what's happening in the present if I'm back here. So I don't know. It's just so weird that because I look out at life and it hurts because our society is moving so fast, and even the words and the stuff I was taught about love is so fucking phony. It is so phony. Love is just being present and with you right in that moment. It's not this lovey-dovey shit that we see on TV, and it's just being able to sit in front of someone and when they're hurting, just let them hurt. Don't change it. I always want to change everything. Do I ever want to just sit there and surrender and just accept what it is? That's where the healing takes place. That's where the love takes place. That's where the growth takes place. I don't really think my recovery is not about changing anymore. It's about stopping and just looking at what I got. It's okay. I was made this way for a reason. I wasn't made this way so you like me. I wasn't made this way so you could accept me. I was made this way so I could accept me and I could like me. And if I do that, the only way I can like myself is to have feelings that are good about me. And if I have good feelings about me, there's no way you're not going to, because if I feel good about me, I will spend the time to treat you respectfully. So I don't agree with you're never my problem. So you can't do nothing to hurt me. I have to choose to be hurt when you do something. Even if you hit me, let's say you got up and you punched me right now and then walked away. I could let it go because once you walk away, it's over with, or I can carry that story forward and think you're an asshole, and from the rest of my life, you're an asshole because you punched me. The punch was over 5 minutes ago, so you can't be an asshole. So it's not you. It's what I do with it. So all I really need to do is I am worthy. We're all worthy. That's why we're here. So I have to believe that I'm worthy. And the only way I can believe that I'm worthy is I have to be able to quiet my mind. I have to be able to get in the moment. I have to have feelings, and I have to stop thinking. And once I know that I have consciousness to watch my thinking, I can let it go. It's not who I am. It's just what I do. So, if you have a hard time stop using, I don't know what to do. I really don't, because I stopped just because I stopped. I have no idea how it happened. But just don't judge yourself for doing it. That's the biggest thing. Just don't judge yourself for doing it. And then come back if you can. But yeah, it happens, and it's sad around here, the relapse. It's a deep subject because there's so many people hurting right now and so many people dying. So, I can't solve that one, but I can solve the one that's in me. Thanks.